Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hi, everyone. It is my absolute joy to welcome as a guest to the show today, Kim Duff Selby. She is a speaker, a workshop facilitator, a commercial model, and a podcast host. And I want to just extend to you, Kim, the warmest welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I receive that with
Yay,
all of my being.
I just love your energy so much. And speaking of that, actually, Kim is on the show today because I recently interviewed as a guest on her amazing podcast, which is Ignite Your Spark. And her energy is just so infectious. And I just had so much fun connecting with her that I had to have her come on here and share her with all of you.
I'm so grateful, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Yes. So, Kim, I would love for you to share with us a little bit more about your background and what led you to, the work that you're doing today, because you really do have just such an extensive and expansive background to share.
Sure. This could take the whole time. When you reach after you've lived 6 decades plus, there's a long story there. I mean, really, I thank you for that lovely introduction. I was listening to those things. I'm like, oh yeah, and I do this and I do that and I do some other stuff too, that we just don't talk about. But from the time I was 5, I'm just talking intuitively, and I stepped foot on a stage, I knew that this was a passion of mine. I loved performing. I loved being in front of people. And when I saw people laugh or applaud for something I did, I got so energized. And it's just the way I was born. I was in dance class at the age of 3. I performed on stages my whole life, really. And I didn't do it professionally in my 20s, although I tried. I lived in New York City and I tried to be an actor. And I had also gone to graduate school for broadcast journalism because my parents said, you need something other than acting because that's not going to make any money. That's a bad program. You should never tell your kids you should do something other than. You should let them pursue their passion. Not that they were wrong, because it turned out in Manhattan, I didn't have what it took. I didn't have the right looks. I didn't have an agent. I didn't have the gumption. I didn't want to keep selling sandwiches on Madison Avenue to make money. I wanted to live the life all my friends were living. And I ended up having some great jobs. My favorite job was with Glamour magazine, where I traveled around the country bringing the pages of the magazine to life. And I was able to use my skills as speaking and in fashion, because that's another love of mine. I do some styling, and put it all together. And that was I feel like in life, we always find these little nuggets of what our essence truly is throughout all of the jobs and things that we do. And my essence is speaking and laughing and performing. And not every job had all of those aspects, but the one at Glamour definitely did. I briefly, I'm just telling you that so you know my little background. I worked in advertising and PR as well. And then at the age of 30, decided I'd had enough of Manhattan and moved to San Francisco with no job, nothing, great resume. Both my parents had passed away. And I thought, I'm leaving. And I moved to San Francisco, and it was a little more challenging to get jobs. But eventually, I ended up becoming the fashion director at Saks Fifth Avenue in Palo Alto, where once again my skills were utilized in fashion and speaking. And then the store closed. Meanwhile, I met and married my husband of 33 years, had 2 kids, and I created my own fashion show production company. And it was fabulous and fun. I did it for 20 years. I produced fashion shows, choreographed, directed, did the clothes, the whole thing. It was just exhausting, but it was so fun. So what led me to today, and the reason I bring that up is I saw the power of a little coaching and fabulous music and a little self-esteem boost for the women mostly and men and teens who modeled. They were not professional models. Yes, it was a paying job for me, but a lot of our organizations out here in California had fundraisers for schools and organizations, and they were fashion shows. And so I would work with non-professional models, and they'd be timid or scared or shy, or some wanted to do it, but some didn't. And I worked with them and saw a transformation immediately. And I thought, whoa, people, especially women, are lacking in self-esteem. They're missing a spark that I know is inside because I brought it out of them somehow. I'm not saying I'm so fabulous, but I saw what someone could achieve by someone believing in them and by giving them a positive affirmation. And that has led me to create my podcast, Ignite Your Spark. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into all of that. I was also raised a spiritualist. So I was raised knowing that there's life after life and that we are guided and we should be aware and awake to all of the dimensions, because there are so many things we cannot see, touch, and feel with our senses, but that we can actually absorb and learn from other dimensions. So I started this podcast during the pandemic. I had always wanted to be an actor, and then a few years later decided to get an agent or look for an agent. I found an agent, and I do some commercial and modeling work. I became a creativity coach about 12, 13 years ago, and I've done coaching on that. And that led me to create workshops for women to unleash their inner diva, to unleash their inner rock star, whatever it is, whatever someone wants, I will create something. But that's the basis of it. You know, I use improv because I've studied that. I use my creativity coaching hat. I use my decades of experience in lifting women up and inspiring them. And that's just my whole goal right now, is to ignite the spark within each person out there so that they can shine that light. Because as Marianne Williamson said, and I'm going to butcher this, but it was like, once we shine our light, we give others permission to do the same. And that's kind of a very abbreviated version. And when I speak to the fact that you are never too old to ... Whatever it is, you're not too old, too young, to this, to that. But primarily in this decade of my life, I speak to that fact. There, that's the not so long version.
No, that's great. That was great. I'd love to know more about, you mentioned creativity coaching, and I mean, that's the title of your podcast, you know, Ignite Your Spark, right? It's like, we are as a collective living in a really transformational time where many institutions and constructs that have been in place for so long are really changing. Like, we're experiencing a really foundational kind of shift.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, right, comes change, and with change, you know, comes creation and creativity. And there are many being called to birth new creations and bring back also, you know, like ancient wisdom and knowledge and practices the world that have been dormant for a really long time. My question is, what is your advice for those who are on a path less traveled, right? Who are feeling really strongly guided to birth something, to bring something forward?
Well, I think the first thing is awareness of what it is that you are being called to bring forth. And sometimes I think people lack the focus to actually know. And I speak from major experience on that, because we can have lots and lots of ideas. And my first suggestion is focus on what it is, hone in on what that one thing that you really want to create is. And I'm not sure this is answering your question, but because if people are struggling, oftentimes people struggle with, how do I? Oh my goodness, it's overwhelming. And you just chunk it down into tiny, tiny, tiny bits, creating what it is one baby step at a time. And I think there's a creative genius in every single person. And I often believe that people do not access that, and because people don't believe it. And I think the first step is, if someone is trying to birth something, believe you have that, because we get these little nudges from the universe and we go, oh no, that's not me. Oh no, I can't do that. Someone else does it better. But the first thing is to take a deep breath and wear that idea, put it in your heart and go, okay, I can do that. I can come out with an idea. I can create this. And then little by little, as I said, 2 minutes a day, 4 minutes a day, whatever it is, work on that idea. And I'm not sure I answered your question.
No, you did. I mean, like, it is important, obviously, to create space, for what it is that we're being guided to, and to believe it. I think that's where, I mean, in my experience, I should say, in my experience, that's where a lot of people end up feeling challenged, is in the believing part. You grew up in a house, in a spirit, as a spiritualist, which was amazing. I also know there are also many people who are in our, generation, right, who did not, and who have gone through this journey of essentially like peeling back the layers of beliefs that have essentially limited who they are. So if someone is questioning, right, their belief in themselves, if they're finding it difficult to release the doubt, what would be your advice to them to overcome that?
Wow. That's a big question, because every human is so different. And the path that we travel for ourselves is so different from the path over there. Honestly, journaling is what I would recommend for anyone. Sit down, find some journal prompts if you need to start with that, or just take your blank page and go, what do I need to know? 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 Until something starts coming to you. And you'll find that you will start writing things down. You may have to write, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? What do I need to know? 20 times before something comes to you. I do believe in the power of the pen, putting it to the paper, because it's a direct line from our heart to our head to our pen, and back and forth in circles. And that is where our intuition, our highest self, knows the answers. So whatever you are looking for, it is there inside. I'm also a big believer in coaches and outside help, though. I think we often give our power away, and we want someone to tell us what to do. What is it that I am meant to do? What is my creative path? And I think a coach can help you with that, or reading an inspirational book can help you with that, listening to podcasts, of course, but then you have to absorb it. And once again, I'm speaking from major experience, whereas I always wanted someone to tell me. It's hard to believe in yourself, but you know the answer. And my first suggestion would be to journal. And if someone doesn't know what it is that they're being called to do, think about what they love to do as a child. Like I said, I love to perform. That is the essence that comes through in whatever I do these days. And write down 5 or 6 things you love to do as a 7 or 8-year-old, and then go, oh my gosh, which one of those jumps out at you? And then journal on that and see what you could do at this point in your life that would help you find your creativity or find your passion. But you were saying, how could someone also peel back the layers? I think you have to look at, I mean, there's a lot to it. You have to look at the shadow work. You have to look at how you were raised, and you have to overcome some of those beliefs that have been instilled in you, whether perhaps you were raised as a Baptist, or I don't really know. And you were told you can't dance, you can't do this, you can't do that. You have to look at those beliefs, and are they your beliefs, or are they in your history? Is that someone else? And then think about what do you believe? What do you really believe? And it really takes time, and it takes being silent.
Yeah. Yes, that's so true what you say about taking time and being silent. A lot of people think that they can't meditate, which is not true. It's really people that say that they can't meditate or can't create that space to be still. It's because there's resistance that they have to being still. And so then the question becomes, why am I feeling this resistance to being still? Right? Because there's a reason for that. I also love that you bring up the fact that the answers are within, and then also reaching out for support, which is a fine line. Sometimes I believe we do have all of the answers within. There is a time, absolutely, to reach out for support. I believe that that's, some signs of that could be if you keep kind of experiencing this boomerang pattern, right? Like you keep coming back to the same thing over and over again. There could be some sort of blind spot, right? Where someone else outside of your inner circle, right, that can give you an objective perspective, higher perspective on things, that can sometimes be extremely helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
On our path forward. But first and foremost, yes, absolutely. A lot of times when I'm speaking with people, I talk about, that inner voice and really having a grounded knowing of it through knowing what truth feels like in your body, right? It's like we've all had, whether someone considers themselves gifted or not, right? Intuitively, we all have had those moments where you just knew something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's paying attention to those moments, Jennifer. It's paying attention that people need to do and write down, perhaps would be a suggestion of mine. When you have an intuitive hit, even if you don't know it's an intuitive hit, but something happens and you say, oh, I knew that, write that down, because that will give you proof that, oh, I really do have an intuition I can trust.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. If you're willing to share, what would be one of the greatest challenges that you've experienced on your ascension journey, and how you overcame it?
That's interesting, because thank you for asking that. One of my messages when I speak to people is that your light always gets dimmed. I mean, we can't go through life without it. And there are many throughout my life that I was emotionally and only once physically abused by my first boyfriend at the age of 17. But I had the inner resilience. And for me, it was a belief that something better was around the corner. I mean, I stayed with him way too long. How I was able, I think it was my upbringing, just being a positive person and knowing that there's always something better for you out there, this or something better. But the biggest challenge was, I think, when my mother passed away. I was 22 in graduate school. That was my first, well, the boyfriend was the first. There were other little ones, but then when my mother died, and she had cancer, but I found out on a Sunday, and I had to go home. I was in upstate New York and she was in Florida. And I didn't go home till Tuesday, and she died on Thursday because it was all new to me. I didn't know she was dying. They didn't want me to leave school. My parents were very selfless. And that in itself was challenging. And then a month later, when my father said, can you go through some stuff in the back room? And I found some notes that had been written to my parents when I was born. And it said, do you know anything about the little girl or her background? Boom. I found out I was adopted at the age of 22.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. That's, it's a very long story and I won't go into it. How I was able to overcome it was relying on others for strength and friendship and talking. But I didn't talk to a lot of people about it because I was embarrassed. I thought if my parents didn't tell me, then what's wrong? There must be something wrong with it. I told one friend who had also been adopted, a newish friend from graduate school, and that really helped. But once again, I didn't tell my dad I knew, and he didn't. Oh, it is a long story in that regard. However, I just relied on that inner strength, knowing I am who I am. I am the same person I am. That's why, when I was getting married and people said, are you changing your name? I'm like, yeah, why not? I want, if we have kids, I want them to have the same name. I'm the same person. I'm the same me. It doesn't matter what you call me. I'm me. And I feel like I had the strength at 22 to know I was raised. I didn't feel that I was finished being raised by my mother when she died at all. We had just kind of come back together. You have teenage squabbles, etc. But I just knew that there was life after life. That's the thing. I was aware that it wasn't, in my mind, not everybody agrees, it wasn't ashes to ashes, dust to dust, that my mother was a spirit. She was free of her physical body and no longer in pain. And that is what kept me going. It was sad. It's hard. It's still sad. However, it's a belief in something greater than ourselves, no matter what you believe in. And I think that that is something that I have always relied on.
Yeah, I love that. Yes. Yeah, that can be complicated.
The whole thing is complicated.
Adoption. Yes, absolutely. Kim, what else, just intuitively, are you feeling guided to bring forward now?
I think that the thing that I really want everyone to know, and I've mentioned this, is that every single person has a spark. I find that a lot of people are into self-help and transformation and read and read and read and read, and then don't do. They absorb, but are they really? And they're like, well, it's not for me because I'm not thus and such, or I'm not really out there, or I'm not really spirited, or I'm not this. I don't care who you are. You have a spark inside of you. You just need to find out how to ignite that spark. And a lot of it comes with a belief in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I coach people or do workshops, we wear a cloak of compliments. And everybody gives everybody else, you're wearing it. Picture this compliment cloak, and engraved on it is, you are hysterical. You are beautiful. I love the way your eyes sparkle when you are an amazing mother. Think of all the things, because everybody has something. And I say everybody, maybe there are people out there who have chosen in this lifetime, I don't know, to not believe in themselves, to choose to be homeless, to experience that and don't feel good about themselves. But most of the people listening have something inside that they can call upon, that they're great at, or that they love about themselves, and try to do more things that ignite that spark, that passion, so that you are shining, because the world needs every single person's light. We just do.
Yeah, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. Thank you so much for that. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Kim, if someone is interested in connecting with you further, where's the best place for them to go?
Well, I'm all over the place at Kim Duff Selby, kimduffselby.com. And I'm being silly on TikTok. I put funny little videos of fashion and silly things on TikTok at Kim Duff Selby, and Instagram, a little more serious, not serious, but Kim Duff Selby. And on my website are links to book a call or sign up for my mailing list, which I haven't sent out anything in a year, so I don't really spam people. And or they can send me an email. They can find it through my website. And I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oh, wonderful. And we'll have the links to your information in the show notes as well. I believe you sent those over. Kim, what an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to connect with you again. Just love your energy so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. I'm blessed and just delighted to share sparkles and hopefully awaken some sparkles in others.
Well, mission accomplished. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.